You know what? I just have to do the goddamn video. There's just no other way around it. It's the middle of the afternoon. It's actually the early evening. It is 5:30 over here, and I was supposed to get this done over 12 hours ago, and at the very least, it was supposed to have it done by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I didn't get it done. And that's when I like to try and have these things done. But it is time to show up, and I'm showing up. I'm glad you're showing up. I appreciate every single one of you. Do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. And this is season one of showing up. Last season was season 0. Cause that was just tracked. That wasn't real. This is season 1. That's the way I planned it all along. It's definitely not me going, well, I just want season 1 of all 3 shows to be like starting the same week. Definitely not what's going on here. Definitely not what I'm doing. It's totally what I'm doing. Anyway, I got my Jubilee because it's that time of year. And you know what? I'm just going to jump straight into it, and I'm going to pull up the game that I'm working on so you can see it. And let me drag this down here, and then I've got to run from the enemy. Now this has this is going to be a horde survival game. You can see the horde already starting to form. You can see that I've got decorations on the field that you can walk in front of and behind. And through. And I've got these little I've got the obligatory Gato icon, which you can shoot until it breaks, and it will drop a pickup, which can then be picked up. Like so. And I've just got a fairly short timer of 3 minutes. And if you make it through, it may not be really obvious. You may be noticing that as you run around, as you kill the enemies, well, you saw it there, the enemy can pick up the experience. And that makes the enemy stronger. And there's a lot of stuff missing in this. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't exist. And one of the big bits is that now that the game's over, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do at all. But it does have controller support. That's in there. That's working. And it works with the Steam controller. I always use the Steam controller. That's what I enjoy. But really the only thing you can do at this point is close it. And let me go back to just straight cam. And the thing about this game is you can see that they're all just like placeholder graphics. And you can see there were the 2 bushes on the screen, and there was the 1 tree on the screen. You can walk through the bushes, but you can't walk through the tree. You can't walk through the chests. You can shoot the chests until they break. The chest will drop a pickup. You can pick up the thing that it dropped. And as you play the game and you shoot the enemies drop pickups. And the enemies can pick up the pickups dropped by other enemies. So kind of the interesting thing about this game so far is that, number 1, the enemies can pick up the experience. As you kill the enemies and they drop experience, the other enemies can pick up the experience. But on top of this, your experience is also your health. So as you gain more and more experience, you become tougher. And as the enemy gains more and more experience, it becomes tougher. And fundamentally, it's this interesting sort of thing. I like this core concept in games where there's kind of a zero-sum thing going on. And as you play the game, as you advance, you have this tipping balance where you start out as you're killing the enemy is getting stronger, and the enemy is getting stronger because you're killing the enemies and the other enemies are picking up the experience. But then you start being close enough that you can pick up some of the experience. You start killing the tougher enemies and you pick up the experience, and that creates this kind of balance that is constantly going back and forth. And the idea is that you want to keep your level going up while keeping the enemy's level down. And even if you're killing the enemy, if you're not getting over there to pick up the experience, the enemy's going to get it. And because the enemy's going to get the experience, you don't get it, and that balance just kind of goes back and forth. I like that dynamic, and that's kind of what I'm playing with here. There's some other stuff that I want to play with, but most importantly, I have a playable driver. It's a working prototype, and all of the graphics are placeholders. The animations that are in there, I drew the background of the setting, and I painted the tree, I painted the bush, and the Godot engine icon. You have to use it if you're developing a game in Godot. You have to use the Godot icon for something at some point in development. It's required. You have to do it. That's like part of the culture. It's part of the community. So I've got that in there, and I'm using placeholder animations from PV Games, which is over on itch.io, and you should definitely go over there and check out their stuff, because I buy a lot of stock graphics just because originally it was because I couldn't make graphics, and now it's because I know how long making graphics takes. I did the maths on how long it would take to do all of these graphics if I worked full-time on it, and it was like 8 months of full-time work. Holy fuck, that's a lot of time and energy. That's a lot of effort, and I'm thinking about ways that I can improve that. Now, over the course of a week, what you're going to see is the Showing Up show, which is primarily geared toward the graphics and the visuals. And on Wednesday, I've got Tuning In, and Tuning In is about the sound and the music and just the audio in general. And then on Friday, I've got Building Out, and Building Out is when I talk about the code and the design. And coming up this Friday, I have a lot of refactoring to do on this game, because in the process of making all of the stuff that works in the game work, I did a bunch of shitty, crappy architecture that needs to be revamped and redeveloped so that it's not shitty, crappy architecture, and I can do better things with it. But I've been avoiding that. I've been not looking at it for about 4 months now. And it's mildly demoralizing because I started working on this game in June of 2021. And it is now November of 2025. That is 4.5 years I've been working on this game, and that's all I've got. But most of that time was spent, the first 3 years was spent on nothing but art, because it was just like, I got to get better at art. I'm not that much better at art. I've gotten better at art to the point that I understand just how fucking bad my art is, and just how fucking long it's going to take me to get good enough at art, and that's kind of an open issue. It's an open issue because I have a bunch of stuff to do, and I'm not very good. And I mean, how hard is it to draw anime chicks, really? I mean, honestly, how hard is that? Pretty fucking hard, actually. And people sit there and go, oh, PewDiePie learned to draw in 30 days. PewDiePie learned to draw anime girls' faces in 30 days from about the same angle. I'm working on huge amounts of stuff. I'm working on backgrounds, I'm working on architecture, I'm working on anatomy, I'm working on design, I'm working on clothing and drapery, and I'm trying to do like way more stuff. Because I'm stupid and I make bad decisions. But I do need to learn it. I do need to learn the stuff. I did need to learn how to paint trees and bushes. And when you look at it, you understand. You look at that playing field and you understand. I gotta learn to paint grassy fields and meadows. And there's all kinds of notes. I've got so many notes for this game. I don't start building a game with a game. I start building a game with a design document that evolves and changes and expands as I continue to play in the game. And originally the game was going to be just a clicker game. And I realized that while the clicker game has fairly simple gameplay, it needs better art than what I'm putting together. And I don't know, maybe I need to adjust that. Maybe I need to think about that a little bit. There are a lot of tough decisions that have to get made on this sort of thing. Like, let me go ahead and fire some stuff up here. If I try to make the game that I've got in my head, then there's a level of artistic talent and skill I need to make that game. But if I don't envision the look of the game, if I just think about how do I want the game to work, I could probably do much simpler artwork that would be easier for me to do, and I've got some examples of that, really. I'm waiting around right now because Clip Studio is frequently obnoxious and annoying about things. Like right now, it's backing up my app settings, and for some reason, it is going very, very slowly. See, it's a 2.3 megs. I know it can upload faster than this. I don't know why it's not. It takes longer to upload the 3 megs of app settings for Clip Studio Paint than it took me to download the 300 megabytes of the Affinity Design Studio, which I picked up because it's now free. A lot of people are upset because of the AI connection. I'm not as upset about the AI connections as other people because I recognize that as a technology company, you're going to have a substantial audience that wants AI tools, and you're also going to have a substantial audience that wants you drawn and quartered for offering AI tools. I think we're in a dark spot with AI right now. I really do. And I think that dark spot exists because we're way over promising what AI can do. I worked with AI for years, and deep learning and machine intelligence are like, those are things that I wrote the code to do back in the mid to late 90s. And then I moved on from that into the Y2K stuff, which paid a lot more money and was much less likely to destroy the world, according to some people, but was much more likely to actually do something that fucking mattered, according to me. Because AI is garbage. I call it the garbage farting computer machine for a reason, okay? We have spent 30 years trying to make the computer intelligent, and we haven't had a plan for that. We've just gone, if we throw enough compute at the neural network and we throw enough training data into it, the intelligence will just appear, spontaneo generati. And no, that's not going to happen. But also, we've now hit the point where we are talking about a level of compute that nobody can provide. Literally nobody. Nobody can provide the amount and speed of compute that we need to make further progress. And on top of that, we are out of training data. We have used all of the training data available. That's bad for a whole host of reasons, okay? But one of the biggest reasons is, for best results, you should only train your neural network on good data. Data that's better than the average crap. We stopped even trying to curate the data that we trained the machine on. We trained it on everything. We just downloaded and stole and when I say we, I've been out of this industry a long time. All of the theft from authors and artists and musicians that has happened in the last couple of years, I had nothing to do with that. And I would have quit my job over it if I did have something to do with that. If I was working in a capacity where they said, we need to steal all of these images and these books and this music off of the internet and all of these videos off of YouTube so that we can train the data, I would have quit my job over that. That's an ethical violation that nobody in their right mind should have had trouble with. They should have seen immediately, this is wrong. This is absolutely, completely wrong, and we can't do it. And we have an industry full of lying sacks of shit, so they didn't care. They lie, they cheat, they steal. Fraud is a way of life now. That's who we are as a culture in America. We're thieves. We're thieves and pirates, and we think that makes us cool, and it doesn't. It doesn't make us cool. But anyway, I do have affinity because I think eventually we're going to have ethically trained AI, and I think it's going to work reasonably well for certain things, but there are some nasty realities that come along with that, and I'm not opposed to the existence of AI. I'm opposed to the current implementations of AI. I'm opposed to the direction we're taking it. I'm opposed to the lies and bullshit that we're telling about it. I'm opposed to the way we get our training data. I'm opposed to the general value to humanity of the engineers who are working on this project. I think the alignment issue people are fucking lunatics, especially Eliza Yudkowsky. And it's just like everything and everyone in the industry right now is awful. But it's not the technology's fault. I mean, the technology's fine. We could use this technology ethically, and we could do good things with it. And it can be a meaningful tool for artists and for writers and for musicians. We use AI, deep learning, and machine intelligence for all kinds of stuff all the time. Your mailbox would be absolutely fucking stuffed with spam if it wasn't for the Bayesian analysis done by your spam filter. which is a form of deep learning and machine intelligence. It's a genetic algorithm. This is AI at the heart of how we keep most of the spam out of your inbox. So the technology isn't the problem, really. The problem is what we're doing with it. The problem is the people. The people are the problem. The machine is never the problem. The people are the problem. It's like people have an issue with the machine was trained on copyrighted data. Fair use is way, way stronger in the US than it is anywhere else in the world. And an awful lot of the data that was used to train the AI was obtained through fair use. And most of y'all that are complaining about it, you're not gonna like it, but it's fair fucking use. It really, because fundamentally, we already lost this battle, okay? We lost this battle with Google Images. I'm way off topic now. We lost this battle with Google Image Search. And the reason we lost it with Google Image Search is, I want you to think about this. Google, a for-profit company, downloaded all of these images off of the internet and put them into a database and allowed people to search that database to find these images. And they never had to leave Google's site. They could search Google's site. Instead of going to your site to see your image that you made, they could go to Google and they could look for the image on Google's site, pull it up out of Google's database, and they could make a copy and save it to their hard drive without ever going to your site, without ever even knowing what site that image came from, without knowing who made it, without seeing anything you had to say about it. And Google put ads on that to monetize it. And there was a big court case about that. There was a big court case about that because one guy was just like, that's copyright infringement. And the judge decided, if you put your image up on the internet and the public can access it, it's okay for the public to make a copy of your image, put it in a database, make that database available to other people, and monetize the search function on that database. That's allowed. This is pretty much exactly what the current crop of generative AI is doing. But that's not how all of the data was obtained. Some of the data was stolen. Some of the data was obtained from private databases that people were not supposed to have access to, that they didn't have permission to get access to, that they had the ability to access, but they didn't have the authority to access. And that lack of authority is completely fucking meta in the arse right now, because they stole like a bunch of books. There's already like decisions coming down out of courts. The behavior of the industry has been awful. There's a lot of stuff that we could have trained the AI on and argued that it was fair use. And if we had stuck to what was arguably fair use, everything would be fine. And I could stand there and say, there's nothing unethical about using an ethically trained AI. There is no ethically trained AI. Nobody has trained any of their AI ethically except perhaps Adobe. Adobe may have trained their AI ethically. But fuck Adobe for being a bunch of lying sacks of shit anyway. I don't trust them to have trained their AI ethically. They had the ability to train their AI ethically, but I don't know if they have the ethics, let alone the morals. They definitely don't have the fucking morals. Anyway, I get bound up in this. I get bound up in this because if I've ever worked in an industry, I feel like to some degree that industry is mine. It belongs to me and it reflects to me that I've worked in it. And I don't like when people do shitty things in an industry that I used to work in. I don't like finding out that Microsoft has done some bullshit in the latest version of Windows, because I was on the team that shipped Windows Vista. Yeah, I don't want Windows to have shitty stuff in it. I don't want Microsoft to put shitty things in Windows. I don't want them to do shitty stuff with Windows. I'm very upset when they do stuff like that, because I still think of Microsoft as us. I still think of it as we. I still think of Windows as partially, in some way, my product that I worked on once upon a time 20 years ago. And that's rough for me, watching companies that I used to respect, that I used to be part of, do shitty things. But I'm looking around the industry and I'm seeing, like, I'm looking around every industry and I'm going, well, all the companies are doing shitty things now, because we have become a culture that does shitty things. And I fucking hate that. And that's one of the major things that all of my videos are about, are you don't have to do shitty things. Don't do shitty things. Don't be a shitty person. I believe wholeheartedly in working hard and doing a good job, and I'm going to work hard and do a good job. And I'm not going to cheat, and I'm not going to take shortcuts. I'm not going to steal anything. I'm not going to lie to people. And the fact of the matter is that if you lie, cheat, and steal, you will get things done faster, and you will make more money in the short term, and people will not know that you lied or cheated or stole, and they'll just go, yay, great job, and they'll give you credit until you get caught. And then when you get caught, everybody goes, oh, you're a lying, cheating, stealing sack of shit. And then everything's fucked up. But we're also increasingly living in a society where nobody actually fucking cares. Where you can be lying, cheating, thieving sack of shit, and everybody goes, oh, that's just capitalism. That's not capitalism. That's not what capitalism is. Anyway, I have now opened up Clip Studio, and since I have opened up Clip Studio, I can create a brand new document. And I've got some stuff that I can pull in here and just kind of like show you in terms of like things that I have done, things that I have worked on. Because when I first started out, everything I started out, everything was garbage. Okay? Like if I come down here and let me find something that here's there we go, yeah. Here's one of my early efforts at painting a landscape, and it's awful. It just looks like shit. And here is a later effort at painting a landscape, and it's also awful. Like really fucking terrible. But you can see improvement. And here's a third effort at painting a landscape. And we're starting to see some actual, like, this is starting to look halfway decent. And I've got other stuff that I put together, and you can see my efforts to improve and to make things better. And this goes on for quite some time, and I try to paint sunsets and that sort of thing. And I got around to the point where I was doing, let me try and find some of this, try and find something. Here we go. I got this thing, which is like, this is a juniper tree on the beach, and I've got just like, I've got a beach with a, I'm I've got a beach with a little sort of gazebo thing on it that I painted. And there's a lot of stuff that I've made a lot of improvement with. And you can look at characters that I painted way back in the beginning. You can look at here I am just trying to paint some random chick. Doesn't look that great. Here I am practicing on some stuff, and honestly, it all looks absolutely fucking awful. It all looks terrible. And there's all kinds of stuff. Here I am trying to paint a rabbit. I'm trying to do a little bit of everything, and I'm not doing a very good job, but I do improve. You can see here I've got the reference image all the way over on the right. I've got the first time I tried to reproduce that reference image all the way on the left. And in the middle, I've got another effort that I made later on to reproduce the same image. And you can see that there's growth and there's change in the way that the two drawings from reference have altered. The way that I've managed to do these pictures, I've done a better job of color selection on the middle one in some places. I've done a worse job in some places. But you can really see that there's effort and there's growth going on here. And then there's all this, to give you an idea, when I really first started out and I was doing a value study of Sonozaki Mion, it just oh God, this is back in 2019 or so. This is horrible. What the hell? And I've got pictures that I was trying to put together. I tried to do this picture of Pecora leaping out of a window. It's not very good. It's not complete, but you can see me working on the architecture and working on all of the stuff. And you can see that there's work being done. You can see that there's effort being put in. You can see that I'm trying to get better. It just takes way, way longer than I expected it to. It always has. It has always taken just an incredibly long time to do anything. Here's an effort to draw a guy standing in a basement. And I don't feel like this guy fits in with the basement, and I'm not sure how to fix that. I'm not sure what I need to do to fix that and make it look better, but there was a time when painting this would have been unthinkable to me. There was a time when it just wouldn't have made any sense to do that. And at the same time, I can do fairly good chibis. It's not that hard for me to do chibis. Not hard for me to animate these. And if I wanted to change the art style of my game into something like this, that would be a fairly simple thing to do. Or, this will take a moment here, or I can go into my stock folder and into my graphics and my damn it, where'd it go? Okay, I can go into the game art and I can go down to and go into these graphics here, and these are some images from PV games. And I could use stock images like this. I've got a bunch of them. I've particularly got a whole lot from PV games. And as you can see, they're very good. They're very well done. And they're certainly better than I could do at the moment. So I could use those as a base, and I have additional bits and pieces that could go onto this to make it into a more customized character. And I'm fairly good at modifying and altering graphics of that nature. So that's an option. It's an option for me to use stock graphics. It's an option for me to draw my own graphics. And I'm still kind of wrestling with that and trying to figure out which direction I want to go with it. And then there's all the UI elements, and there's menus and all that sort of thing. I have a huge quantity of graphic work that needs to be done on this game. And Mondays are when I'm going to kind of focus on that. And I'm going to spend probably a few weeks not actually doing any painting or drawing or graphic creation, but just kind of agonizing and being frustrated about having to make a decision and having to figure out what it is I'm going to do. Because that's kind of my thing. That's kind of the thing that I do, is sit around and agonize over what decision to make and why I should make it. But the idea here is, and I do want to get into this. The idea of all these shows is for me to continue putting the time in on this, for me to kind of guarantee that I put half an hour to an hour, maybe more, into each element of building the game every week. But I'm not actually doing artwork or sound work or coding. I need to be thinking about it and talking about it and explaining where exactly that portion of the work is going. So that's where this is going to go. That's where I'm going to spend. I have this plan for how things are going to fit together. And what I want is by the end of this year, I want to have the one-level demo of the game together, which means all of the little Netnoid shit, all of the trappings. I want to be able to save the game, load the game. I'd like to be able to do replays, but I'm gonna have to experiment with the question of, if you're gonna do replays, you need to have a deterministic engine. So I'm gonna have to work from that perspective all the way from the beginning. And I'll talk about that more when I get into the replay engine, if I ever do. If I don't, then I'll go, hey, here's why I'm not doing replays. But I want to do replays. I want to build replays, and I want to be able to use those as an attract screen. I want to be able to load a replay and play it in the background behind the main menu, so you can see how the game unfolds and how the game works. There's a lot of sprite work, a lot of effects work, a lot of particle effects, a lot of weapon effects, a lot of animations that need to be done. And that's a tremendous amount of work. A really, really tremendous amount of work. But it's got to be done. And I want to put in the work toward getting one level ready so that playtesters can have at it, really. I want to get that locked down to the point that I can start thinking about when I'm going to have the limited release that goes on itch.io and when I'm going to have the full release that goes on Steam, and what the time frame is around those. If I can get the demo done by the end of the year, then I feel like I could probably get the limited release done by the end of next year and probably have the full Steam release ready by the year after that. And when I say the limited release, I mean like 3 to 5 levels. I haven't decided whether I'm going to do 3 or 5. It has to be at least 3, and I'd like it to be 5. I'd like you to be able to get like the first level of the game as a demo for free, and then the first half of the game, the first 5 levels, on itch.io for a fairly low price, probably a pay what you want thing, with like a suggestion that maybe you pay $3 or whatever. And then the Steam version is probably going to be around like somewhere between $5 and $10, somewhere in that vicinity. It depends on how much I feel like the game is worth. And I can't really look at it right now, so I don't know how much the game is worth. I think about the game that I'm building and I go, oh yeah, that's worth $15-20 definitely. But I'm not confident that it's really gonna be. And I really need to see it in action to know that. I may know that by the end of level 1, but I will definitely know it by the end of level 5. So it's probably going to be 2 years before I know what the price point of this thing's. It's par for the course. It takes forever. What I'm doing on this channel is holding myself accountable to do the work and show up and put in the effort. So it's not an effort to get attention, to get views, to get subscribers, to get monetized. And I'm not interested in sponsors or advertising. This is not strictly speaking a devlog, because I don't think anybody really cares. I think all of this, everything I'm doing on this channel is basically just for me. And if you enjoy it, I'm glad you enjoy it. And I hope the things that I have to say are helpful. I hope they're useful to you in your own endeavors, whatever they may be. But I'm not making any promises, because fundamentally the reason I'm doing this channel is to keep me accountable and show up and do the work week after week, day after day. So that's where I'm going with this. And yeah, I guess that's all I had to say about that for today. So again, do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe. And I appreciate you showing up. I appreciate you waiting to the end of the video. And okay, bye.